Hello and welcome to Smitty's. I am a wood cutting fanatic who loves to run a chainsaw. I run alcohol chainsaws, ported chainsaws, I race chainsaws, and I even run the occasional vintage. Now remember, I cannot do this without you. You're everything to the channel, so please remember, subscribe, give that thumbs up, leave that comment. Today, we are going to have a lot of fun. So how you doing? Couple of things I want to go over tonight. Yes, it is night, so I won't be able to do any cutting. So if you're already here for cutting, hey, this ain't going to be the video for you. But I do have a few things to go over. I learned a few things about the scoring at SawFest, and I'm going to share that with you. It's going to influence some of my decisions here in the future. But I thought I'd share with you the upcoming Clone Wars. There's been some changes. There's been a new saw added, and it's about to get really hot, really. So let's go over that first. The Clone Wars. So the Clone Wars is basically exactly how it sounds. They are my camera's crooked, isn't it? Yep. There we go. That's a little better. But yeah, the Clone Wars is exactly what it sounds like. They are the China clones of, popular saws, and they added a new one to the list. They added the G366, which I believe is the Steel MS361 clone. I've already purchased one of these. Last October, I actually purchased one, and it got lost in customs, which it's still lost in customs. I still haven't received it. So, I bought a saw. I never got it, ever. It's one of those ones I had to eat. It sucked, but they changed the way the saws are going to be. So the 372 and 660 clones are going to stay the way they were, but the 361 clone, they changed the rules for that particular saw. It is going to be almost an unlimited build. You can run any type of fuel you want, do pretty much any mod you want. You have to keep the stock bore and stroke, but you can do almost anything. You can run two-piece heads and all sorts of stuff. You still have to keep your stock appearing can-style muffler. So basically the saw, you're allowed to do whatever you want, but it needs to physically appear to be a stock saw. That's kind of the direction, I guess we could say. Any fuel, any port work, any build you want to do, almost. So it's going to get kind of interesting here. I know out of the top 10 placers at SawFest, many of them are very familiar with these types of builds. So you're going to see some really off-the-wall crazy stuff coming. I'm going to make my attempt. I have an idea of what I'm going to do. I got to keep in mind, though, that you see there's a level in performance that you can get to that you're going to blow it up, and you have to be prepared to blow it up, rebuild it, blow it up, rebuild it continuously to keep running year after year after year. I want to get it as hot as I can, but still have it reliable enough that I'm not constantly having to work on it and rebuild it. That way I have time to tweak on other stuff, you know what I mean? So I'm going to make it hot, but probably not as hot as others. It's not going to be a gas-fueled saw. I already know I'm not going to run it on gasoline. It will either be running on methanol or a nitromethane or something of that sort. So it's going to be a bit spicier of a build, very high revving kind of saw, and you're going to see a lot of these starting to flood the YouTube airways, because this literally just got announced to us a couple of days ago, or should I say it just got revealed to us. So you're going to see some people starting to build some of these saws. I might be one of the first guys getting into it. Working out the build. It's just I need to jump on it quickly because of how long it takes me. You know what I mean? it takes me a while to get some stuff done, so I need to, make sure I get started on it soon. It sucks that I had to buy 2 in order to get 1. That's the thing that sucks the most, if you know what I mean. So whatever anybody else spent on getting their saw, I had to, spend twice that. And it was a tough pill for me to swallow. I take things like that very, how would you say, very personal, I guess. Customer service is one of those things that I always kind of, well, but anyway, enough about that rant. Let's get on to the scoring of SawFest. I learned a few things, some things that are going to change my mind on a few other things. You know what I mean? So basically, scoring in Clone Wars is Clone Wars scoring. It's a separate category. So whatever you do at Clone Wars is going to stay with Clone Wars. And the wild thing was kept over there as well. But I'm talking specifically the clones. So any scoring you earn on clones stays in the Clone Wars side of the contest as well. And any scoring you earn on the regular classes, that stays with those regular classes. The thing I learned is how the points work. It's real simple. It's basically you have to be in the top 10 to earn any points whatsoever. If you're not in the top 10, you get 0. So 10th place gets 1 point, and first place gets 10 points. And it kind of, counts backwards from there. So first place is 10 points. Second place would be 9 points, and kind of goes down the ladder from there. You know what I mean? So you have to score top 10 to earn any points whatsoever. But one of the things that I just learned, though, is that the cheap saws, like the Wild Thing, and this year we did the MS-170 or whatever, doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to earn any points with those builds. They don't help you at all in your final score. So, it's literally, they're literally like bragging rights only. And it's one of those things that I'm probably not going to put as much effort into, if you know what I mean. I want to focus on my regular builds more and not worry about the stuff that's like that. It's, you know what I mean. I still need to get my 55cc saw sorted out. I need to get basically something fast, a top 10 saw, you know what I mean? I need something that can place in the top 10, and I don't have anything for the 85cc class. So, I got to find something. There's a few things I've been thinking of. Right now, there's 3 different saws that I'm thinking of trying to pick up and run in that class. But I don't know. I'm thinking about going to the 385. That's kind of the direction I'm headed. I haven't made up my mind yet. I don't have it yet. And, that's the way we're going to go. Now, as far as running the vintage saws in these races, the problem I'm going to run into with these vintage saws is I learned that in order to be in the top 10, you need to be pulling roughly 12,500 RPM or more just to break the list. 12.5 minimum, then you're probably going to be bottom of the list. You need to be 13,000 RPM or more if you want to get towards the number 1 spot. Over 13,000 if you really want to do it. And you got to do it with all the torque in the world, plenty of torque left over. And the numbers I'm spitting at you, you're probably thinking like, holy cow, that's going to be a hot saw. And it is. It's a very hot saw. And trying to do that out of something vintage, it's not going to happen. The sold saws are not built to handle it. I've been talking about running this P70 in the races, but then the more I think about it and the more I think about that top 10 list and how hot the saws have to be, I don't think the P70 is going to be able to do it. I need something. I think they're going to need to find something even hotter than that. I could potentially try to make that saw hotter, but I think there's other saws that stand a better chance, if you know what I mean. So we'll see. We haven't ventured down that road yet. So there's decisions to be made. As of right now, the 036, it placed in the top 10. Both of my clones placed in the top 10. So, you know, it's the 55C and the 85C. So the 85cc, I had borrowed a saw. I need to get one that's my own. And the 55 class, the Briscoe saw runs great. It's a great firewood saw, but for racing in a top 10 category or whatever, it's not at that level. I've already talked to Briscoe. We're going to try to figure something out. We've got a few things brainstorming up here in our heads. I got a feeling, I know which direction I'm going to go. I'm still thinking I'm going to try to do it with the Partner 5000. But if not, I have something else brewing that I think we'll be able to do it with. So we'll see how it goes. Now the clones, the Bellhopper clone and the Briscoe's 660 clone, eventually I'll end up replacing them with a different clone. I want my 372 and 660 to be even hotter than what those are. And I actually want to take it to a point that I'm going to be pushing the line of possibly cooking them. So, you know, they're not going to be so firewoody, if you know what I mean. So what will happen is as I get those saws, as I get those new clones and get them built and, you know, race ready or whatever, those saws, my Bellhopper and my Briscoe 660, they're going to go right into my firewood lineup, and, you know, they'll be replaced by something even spicier. I could go into those saws and work at making those saws spicier. Briscoe might even want to attempt at it with the 660. He could do that. Even Bellhopper, you know, if they wanted to, they could. But my plan is to try to kind of keep those saws the way they are and make them spicier. Especially the 372. I really like that saw the way it is. So maybe this 660, maybe Briscoe would want to go in it and see if he could turn it up some more. We need to shave like freaking 4 or 5 seconds off of that saw's time though. And 4 or 5 seconds it's a lot. So that's the difference between the first place and I was at 10th. It's like a 4 or 5 second difference between us, which there was a 2 cookie cut, which means I'm talking 2 seconds plus per cut that we got to shave off of that saw, which is going to be 500 to 800 RPM probably. And that's just to kind of nip at the heels at the guys at the top. So, you know, we need to get another, say, 800 RPM out of it. We'll see. I'll talk to him about it in the future. But part of me wants to just leave those saws as is and start fresh from a brand new build from scratch and, you know, start from the bottom up. But on with the scoring thing, you know, it's kind of one of those things. I don't think I'm going to put in the effort so much with the cheap saws anymore. I've already got the Wild Thing here and running and everything. I might convert it to an alternate fuel. I mean, let me think here. Dub, he had some nitro in his Wild Thing. Let me think here. I think everybody who placed, I think all the Wild Things that placed faster than me, I think they all had some sort of like a nitrous or something going on to bring the speed of their saw. And I think, the only one who didn't have anything. It's literally just pork job, gasoline, and a pipe. Nothing special there. It just, you know. So we might look at swapping out the carburetor and going to, you know, maybe a little nitro mix or something and beef that saw up some more and make it basically impossible to catch. We might take it to that range. Those of you who were not there to see these races, a lot of guys were trying to run nitro or NOS, I should say, in their setups, and they were running into an issue. The cold weather was causing the NOS to freeze up, and you'd basically just get this little spurt of power, and then the whole system would freeze up, and forget it, which is going to be an issue. Because if anybody tries to go that path, if the weather is cold, forget it. It's not going to work, and you're just going to have a big fail, flop, or whatever. So, you know, I got to keep that in mind, that whatever I do, I need it to be able to run in, colder temperatures. And this is happening in October. It could be anywhere from 85 degrees to 30. You know what I mean? It could be anywhere in there. And if it's any of the colder temperatures, forget it. NOS doesn't like cold temperatures, and a lot of your nitro fuels and stuff, they don't like cold temperatures. So, I got to keep some of that in mind. Which, the more I think about it, I'm thinking a really hot pork job running methanol, maybe a little nitropropane additive, and that might be about as far as I go for fuel. I don't know if I want to run nitromethane or whatever, but I don't know. We'll see. I probably am going to go with a methanol build though. But anyway, yeah, thought I'd share this a little bit with you. I got this Neotech 381 to figure out what I'm going to do with it. I got the Johnson Red. I'm going to build that one. And I got another one sitting in a box here we haven't even showed you yet. It's still new in the box, and it's been sitting here for at least a month. I haven't even taken it out and showed it to you yet. Things kind of got interrupted. But hey, it is what it is. Kind of excited to get onto this project though. Now just it's kind of a little refresher here for you. If you want to get into this thing with racing at SawFest and everything, just a little piece of advice for you. There's a lot of guys running stock saws. There are, and you guys could all have your own little, grudge max running stock saws. I wouldn't be surprised if someday that they start running a stock saw class, nothing more than a muffler mod or something like that. I feel like the day is coming when that's going to happen, because, I just feel like it's coming. I think a lot more people would get interested if there was a stock saw class, and, that way the stock saw guys could just kind of compete against each other. And I think it'd be a good way to introduce a lot more new people into the sport. You know what I mean? But I got a feeling someday it might be coming. And for the firewood builders out there, the guys who just build, who build firewood saws or whatever, I shouldn't say you just build. For the guys who build firewood built saws, this is not a contest for mild builds. If you want to place in the top 10 list, the gentlemen who are at the top are building some really, really spicy stuff. In fact, I know the contest is supposed to be like firewood builds and all that stuff, but I will tell you right now, the top finishing saws, you'd never be able to take them out and run them for a day cutting firewood. Never happened. They wouldn't survive. They're just too high strung. And do not compare your builds against theirs, because that's the way they built their saws. I want to be clear that those saws that are that high strung, they're not firewood saws, even though they are running in the top class or whatever in a firewood style contest. They are not firewood saws. Some of these ones I'm going to be building are not going to be firewood saws. They're going to be too high strung, and, SawFest or competing or whatever is the only place they're going to be good for. And, that's what we're going to do with them. But I thought you guys would like to know this little bit of information. Competing like this and expecting to place really well on a firewood build, or a typical firewood build that you feel comfortable going out running all day, every day, is probably not even going to touch the top 10 list. It's got to be quite a bit on the hot side. Basically, you need to be pulling 12.5 in the cut with a hungry chain, and, and that's just to put you at the bottom of the list. So just keep that in mind if you're ever looking to get into this kind of competition. If you're trying to get to the top positions or whatever, it's going to be difficult, especially if you're coming into it first time. What I suggest you to do is to come in, stock saws, mild port jobs and stuff like that, get a handle on it, and just have fun. 36 came in at 8, and I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to touch it. The 372, the 660, I'm not planning on touching those saws at all until next season. If we do, it won't be a whole lot of work done to them, you know what I mean? So just to keep that in mind. It's whenever I add additional saws, then I'm going to try to make them more high-strung. So all those saws are going to stay like that. I'll build new saws that hopefully end up even more high-strung than those that then I can replace them with. Make sense? That's like kind of the direction I think I'm going to go. And it seems to be the best way to go. You start off with stock, you run all your classes with stock saws, and then just one by one, you get them ported and built, and you get to see them, the next year you get to see how well they do, and then you can go through and port some more saws and see how they do, and then the next year you make them even spicier, and you just see how they do, and it's just like a continuing thing. And that's kind of what I'm going to be doing, is I'm just going to be taking my saws and making them spicier, or mostly going to be replacing them with stuff that I want spicier. These saws, it's Briscoe built, bell hopper built, stuff like that. I want to keep them like that. I don't want to be tearing into them. I want those saws because they're built by those guys. They built them as freaking amazing firewood saws. So, and another thing is I want to be running saws that I built. And, there's a little bit of pride with running saws that I built. In fact, if you haven't noticed it, if you haven't realized it, I didn't run a single factory out of the box C83 or anything else chain. Every single chain was mine. I sharpened it. So the fact that I placed as well as I did on chains that I sharpened, and there was nothing special about them. Nothing. They were just a really good sharpening. And I still placed as well as I did. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. You might see a video or two, somebody complaining about my chain. If it does happen, I'm actually working on making a video right now, because basically I ran into a situation where people were trying out my saws and they didn't like the way the chain performed. They thought they might have been dull or cutting crooked. Most of them were like, the chain's cutting crooked, your saw's cutting crooked, your saw's cutting crooked. That's not the reason. So the saw's not cutting crooked because of the way it's sharpened. Or yes, it is. Basically, the chain is revealing a flaw in the way you cut wood. So I got a whole dedicated video I'm working on right now. I just haven't had the daylight hours to work on it. So I got examples and everything. That's going to be one of our next videos coming up. As soon as I can get some to a saw in the daylight hours, we're going to be making a cool chain video. Something you've never seen before. But anyway, a long rant video, all sorts of stuff. And hey, we'll catch you on the next one. Later.